Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I just wanted to run through some of the books I'm currently reading. Alright, so typically I kind of move between reading one book at a time and reading several books at once. It kind of just depends on what sort of mood I'm in. Sometimes I like to just have one book that I could just really focus on and kind of get consumed by. And then other times there's just a lot of different books I really want to read at one particular moment, and I'll just kind of jump between them at different points during the day. Right now, I'm in that state where I actually am reading three books at once. So wanted to kind of run through those that I'm currently reading. So the first one we've got is a book called Making Stories by Jeremy or Jerome Bruner. Now, this is a book that I actually read back in college, and I remember liking it a lot. Like, it really opened my eyes as to what a story is and what a story can do, but I don't really remember it because, like a lot of things in college, and when you're reading so many things at once, it all sort of gets mixed together and you end up not holding on to a lot of it. So I still have the book though, so I was like, this is one you definitely want to return to. And I also think it's a good idea, if you're writing stories, that you kind of have an understanding of how stories work, how they function, what it is that makes a story, and just trying to get a sense of the how stories are engineered, how are they put together. And Bruner sort of starts with this idea that we're so comfortable with stories and they seem so innate, and we kind of get them on this really intuitive level. I think human beings just do really well with narrative, that oftentimes we don't actually pause to think about how the story actually is working and what exactly makes it a story as opposed to something else. And I think these are really important things to pay attention to, especially if you're in the business of telling stories. And so far, the book is as good as I remembered. So if you're looking to find a book on storytelling, and there's tons of them out there, this one I would definitely check it out. It's also nice and short. It's only about 90 pages, so you're not going to have to spend too much time reading it. All right, so next up, we've got The Remains of the Day. Now, believe it or not, I've never actually read anything by Kazuo Ishiguro. He's up there with, I would say, probably Ian McEwan and Zadie Smith as sort of these prestige contemporary British authors who are almost, I'd say, celebrities at this point. I mean, they're just these household names that anything they write is going to be a huge deal. Probably will get optioned immediately for, film or TV. Now, Ishiguro, yeah, I've never read anything by him, and I'm not sure why. I've always wanted to. The only thing I really know about him is that there's an interview where he talked about writing, and he had this analogy that I really liked, where he said that, when you're writing a novel, what you're doing is sort of like what the Wright brothers were doing when they were trying to build the first airplane. The Wright brothers didn't have a picture of a plane in mind when they were first, inventing the plane. They just wanted to make something that would fly. At least I think I don't actually know their story, but apparently that's what they had in mind. They just wanted to make something that would fly, and they didn't have this blueprint in mind exactly of how it would look. So they were really just tinkering with all these little parts and just trying to make something that would take off. And Ishiguro is like, when I'm writing a novel, it's kind of like that. I just don't really know where it's going. I just have all these parts that I'm sort of playing with and moving around and putting together in different arrangements and different orders. And I'm just trying to get something that will fly. And once it flies, then it starts to take shape and then it looks like a plane. So I was really struck by that analogy. I loved it. And I totally could relate to it because I really know that feeling of you have a story in mind that you want to tell, but it's just not quite there yet, and it's missing that spark. It's missing that, last ingredient that lets it take off. And it's a thrilling moment when you find that ingredient. It's kind of agonizing at times when you're searching for it, but you just have to keep sort of tinkering with all the parts and hope that it kind of comes to you. So that's my little tangent on Ishiguro and novel writing analogies. But I'm so far really loving this. I love novels that are, crisp, 200 pages, tell a great story. I actually already do know how this one turns out. I think I've seen the movie that came out, I think in 1993 with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. So I know this story already. I'm more just interested in Ishiguro's writing style and how he sort of crafts a narrative. All right, and the third book I'm currently reading is the book by George Saunders that came out earlier this year. It is A Swim in a Pond in the Rain. So this book is something I was really excited about. I actually will do a full review on it when I'm done. But for now, I've read about a third of the book, and it's spectacular. Now, this is a really interesting book. So basically what it is Saunders takes 7 Russian short stories, and the book has the short stories in it, and then after each story, Saunders kind of writes about the story. But he writes as if he's teaching. So if you didn't know, Saunders is a creative writing teacher as well as a actual writer. So he teaches at Syracuse University. So he's trying to mimic his class as much as possible on the page. And so his essays are really conversational and fun and really brilliant as well, at least the ones that I've gone through so far. He goes about it with a kind of engineer's mind. He is really interested in how a short story works. And, Saunders does have an engineering background, so it kind of is not surprising that this is how he approaches short stories. He really opens your eyes to just what a short story is and what it can do. And he will make you look at stories like you've never looked at them before. It's just really eye-opening so far. One of the stories also that I've read is called The Singers by Ivan Turgenev from, I think, 1853. It's a really amazing story. I'd never heard of it before, but I've talked before about what you want to do in short stories is, bring them to a kind of dramatic boiling point. And I was reading this, and it totally does that. I was utterly thrilled when it reached that point, and I was like, yes, this is what you're trying to do when you write a short story. So not surprised at all that Saunders picked it. I've read 2 of the stories so far. There's 5 to go. It's a really fun book. It's the closest you'll ever get to actually taking Saunders' actual class, if you're not lucky enough to actually get into his insanely competitive writing program at Syracuse. So definitely check out A Swim in the Pond in the Rain if you haven't already. And again, this book is loaded with really cool things and cool ideas, so I'm going to do a full review on it when I'm actually done with it. But anyway, those are the 3 things I'm reading right now. I'm really enjoying all of them. They all kind of are of a piece too. They all kind of are gelling together in a nice way. I like it when you're reading books simultaneously and they do that. But anyway, that's what I'm reading at the moment. Really enjoying them, and hope you're also loving whatever it is you're reading. And thanks so much for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel also if you haven't done so already. And that's all I've got. So we'll see you next time.